Hello and welcome to Floss Tube episode 5. I'm Jenny, also known as Historically Dressed. Why historically dressed? I'll be answering that question today in the random chatter section. I'm also going to have some project updates, a couple of almost starts, and some other on-topic random chatter at the end. But I think it's going to be a short episode, even though I missed a week. So you'd think it would be longer, but I had one doozy of a week in which I had some commissions and things I needed to get done for the business, so I was super busy, and we had a bunch of family come in and visit, so I was busy with that. And in the midst of all of this, I thought, you know, it would be fun? A 3-day long sinus pressure mess migraine nightmare. So I did that. So a whole week went by and I don't think I put in a single stitch. So that was a bit of a bummer. But the second week, this past week, I've picked back up and I have got some stitching done. So I have things to show you, hooray! So without further ado, I'll just dive right in, and I'm going to apologize in advance as I think there's going to be a lot of cat interruptions today. I've got one over there, and one that's lurking around the camera and my cup of tea right now. So we'll see what happens with that. But at any rate, okay, this week I have no finishes, unfortunately. So skip that and go right to work in progress updates. And I focused on 2 projects this week, and did a tiny bit on a third one that should have been a focus, and we'll talk about that one later. So the first one I worked on was Hobbie, because I'm just having a blast with this one. This is the chart for this one. I've showed it to you before. And on this one, I'm going to start putting in a little picture of where it was at in the last episode so that we can compare. So this is Hobbie last time, and this is Hobbie this time. So as you can see, I got a lot done. I am really, really loving her. She's got her bonnet and her dress now, so next I'm working on her apron here, which is patchwork. And when I first started this project, I thought the patchwork apron is going to be kind of annoying because it's a lot of stops and starts. But I've come to the point now, I've been doing this long enough that the stops and starts, they don't really feel like a big deal anymore. I don't mind them at all. So now I'm actually really looking forward to the patchwork apron because it's such a fun mix of like color and pattern. I think it's going to be really fun to work on. So I've been working pretty steadily on this one. Whenever I have like good light, because this one being the even weave is a little bit harder to see, and it's also slower going. And I think I've mentioned before wanting like the floor stand and working two-handed, and I might have called it speed that I was after, but it's actually more getting in the groove. I don't really care how fast I'm going. I care how fast I'm going if it's something for my business, because time is money when it comes to business. But when it comes to my own projects, if something is very time consuming, that's fine, as long as I can kind of get into a groove, and that's when I really enjoy it. So the Hobbie project on the even weave is slower going, but I can still get into a nice groove and it's really relaxing. So I'm having a ball with this one. Love it. So that's Holly. Put her aside. And then the other project I worked a ton on is Please Don't Summon Demons. And as usual, I'm going to put all the information below because I don't think you need to hear every single week it's on this count and this. Nope, I'll just put it below. You can double check if you missed it and are curious. But here's a picture of where this one was at last week. This is the one that I'm doing as a gift for my friends that are super into Halloween and go all out decorating, and I think they'll think this is a riot. So here's where I am this week. So I got a ton done on this one, and I think Taffy's maybe in shot. This is Taffy. She apparently wants to be a YouTube star. Anyhow, so I got a lot of progress on this. I got in this whole flower, part of the leaf. I started outlining the skull and putting in stems. So this one's trucking along, and I'm having a ball with it. I didn't touch Visit Hogsmeade this week, even though that was the one I was kind of going along with, because I decided to prioritize this. I want to be able to gift this well in advance of the Halloween decorating season. And before I can gift it, I'll need to frame it. And before I can frame it, it obviously has to be done. And we're almost in August. So I know I've still got like a good 2 months before I'll gift it probably. I'm aiming for the start of October. But I mean, what if I have another sinus migraine? And I know more family is coming, so you know, I'm gonna just get it done sooner rather than later. So I've been focused on that. And then the third project, I'm so embarrassed to even show you this. So this is the Star Wars kit, which I've showed you before, that I'm working as a gift from my husband. And if you watched my last episode, I'm pretty sure I was saying something about how, oh, I don't have too much done. Put a picture in here of what I had done. And about how I was having an issue with when I get up and to do my early morning stitching while my husband's asleep, I keep forgetting that I should be doing this in that time slot and just working on my other projects, and how I was not going to do that anymore. I was going to work on Star Wars, but here's where I'm at. I'm just not going to get this done for Christmas at this rate, but one good thing is that his birthday is 2 months after, at the end of February, so if it doesn't get done for Christmas, I can aim for his birthday. But honestly, I'm gonna start working on this. I don't know what my problem was. I think that heck of a week threw me off my game. That, and we've had like an epic heat wave, and I've just been off. So I'll get this figured out, and I'll get it done. So that's all my works in progress. I didn't have any starts, but I had 2 almost starts, and one of them cross stitching and one of them non-counted work. So the cross stitching one is sort of a practice project leading up to doing the Granny's house, the one I've been talking about for a couple episodes now. I started kind of getting ready to chart that, and as I've said before, it's my first time charting anything, so it's like, oh, how am I going to do this? It feels like a really big project and I feel overwhelmed. And I know there's software where I could scan that photograph that I showed last time and just convert it, but I don't want it to be like a stitch chart of a photograph. I want it to be kind of like my own. I want to draw it, and I felt overwhelmed by it, and it's a very meaningful project, so I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, which is a really bad habit that I have with my hobbies. They should be fun and I shouldn't pressure myself, but I do. So I decided, long story short, I'm gonna do a simple project first, and I have so many ideas of things I want to do, but I really wanted something small and simple. So what I decided is to do one inspired by this vintage picture that I have. This is, I think, a little creamer or something. I think it's probably from the 1930s or 1940s. It has no marks or anything on it, but I just think this rooster is so cute. I had seen it in an antique store and just inexplicably fell in love with it. And it doesn't really go with my kitchen. It kind of does. My kitchen is red, white, and black, so it works. When I first was setting up my home, I was really into like mid-century stuff, and I wanted like a diner theme. So I have like a lot of Coke stuff, and the kitchen stuff was all red, white, and black. So that's kind of how that started. And I still love the mid-century. So, I mean, it still works, but I'm not really kind of the country kitchen with the rooster decor type of a gal, but this I just loved. And I thought it would be really cute stitched up. So I went ahead and drew my little rooster. I scanned him into the computer and resized him because I drew him really small, and then realized, well, he's going to have to be stitched pretty big if I want to be able to stitch those details. And this is the kind of thing I was that I need to learn, that I, as a beginner to charting, like I wouldn't have thought of that, but now as I'm going through the process, I'm thinking about things like, oh yeah, I have to think about, you know, how many holes per inch and how my design is going to translate to that. So far on this project, I have acquired the Aida, and this is my only haul this week. I just got the DMC Charles Craft 18 count in white, because based on kind of scaling the design and printing out to see, I printed out a couple of just like copies of my drawing basically to see which one I liked the scale of, and also thinking about the smaller details and how they break down. I thought 18 was right. So I've settled on the size, I've settled on the material or fabric, cloth, whatever you want to call it, and I also settled on my colors, and these will be my colors, I think. I waffled back and forth on these, but I think this is my set. I'm not sure. And I started doing the chart because I picked my size and I printed out a grid. I just made like a grid that was the 18 count, that matched the 18 count. And with my light desk, I laid the grid on top of my printed out sketch that was the right size and sort of traced around. So now I'm working on making the actual chart. So I'm really close to a start. By next time, I definitely will have started this, and I'll hopefully have something good to show you. So that'll be great. And then my other almost start was So it's been a while since I did just non-counted embroidery, and I hope it's okay for me to talk about non-counted work in a floss tube as well. I've seen a couple other people that I follow kind of slide in some non-counted work, so hopefully this is okay. But anyhow, I have some projects that I had in mind for a long time, and I have one unfinished project that was a gift for a friend, and I really want to finish it, but it's been so long since I did just kind of freehand embroidery that I wanted to do a refresher. So I decided to do a class, like a beginner class, even though I'm not a beginner, because that can be a great way to sort of, you know, bring all that muscle memory back and be like, oh yeah, I got this again. And so I'm doing a craftsy class, and what's it called again? I wrote it down. Okay, Startup Library, Hand Embroidery with Cat McT. It's a craftsy class, and it comes with a pattern for a sampler. So I've printed out the sampler, I've pressed the cloth for it, and now I just need to get started. So I'm going to show you that as I work on it too, I think. So that will be in my next episode as well, in 2 weeks. I might have said next week earlier, but in 2 weeks. So that's everything with projects for this episode. But now on to my random but related chatter. And the first thing I'm going to show you are some cross-stitch cases, because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with making them. They're so much fun, they're easy, I love putting together like the different fabrics and which zipper, and it's just great. I love it. And I had showed you one that I made in a previous episode, and I was happy with like the functionality and the principle of it, but that standard size that everyone seems to make, it doesn't fit the Q snaps. And that's what I use. I mean, it would be great if I was just putting like the booklet and the fabric and some supplies. That would be perfect. But I want to be able to just put the whole Q snap with the project and everything in it. So I drafted up cases to fit the 11x11 and the 8x8 frame. And this is the first sample that I came up with. This is the one for the 11x11. It's got a thread hanging out that I'll trim later. I love this whale print. I think it is so cute. And usually when I buy fabric, it's because I saw fabric and in my mind's eye I saw exactly what I would make out of it, and that's why I buy the fabric. I very rarely buy a fabric with no plan for it. But this was one of those rare instances where the whales were just so adorable, I couldn't not buy it. And I ended up buying it in both the colors, so I couldn't decide which one was cuter. So it's just been sitting on my shelf, and I decided this is the perfect use for it. So I made this case, and I do have my little holly Hobbie here. You can see it does indeed fit, even with the extra fabric. And it does zip. I won't zip it because I know some people don't like that sound, but it does zip up. So I'm really, really happy with this. And since I was happy with that, I went on and I did the 8x8. And I love this one. I'm a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan. I love Jack Skellington. I love Halloween in general. It's my favorite holiday. So I love this fabric, and I made up this case, and this one fits the 8x8 perfectly. And then I went crazy and I started making all the cases, and I was having so much fun that I decided that I would make up a bunch for my shop. So I did, and right now I can't hold them up and show them because they're all on my sewing table. I've got one more step to do. I have to do the binding around the edges, and then they'll be done. So as of time of filming, they're not done. That's Woody having his 2 cents worth. Hi, Woody. As of the time of filming this, they're not done. But when I edit the video, they will be. So what I'll do is I'll put pictures in here and just buy a little time here to put in some pictures. So these are some of the cases that I made. And if you see one you like, there'll be a link to my shop below, and you're welcome to browse and see if you like it. And if people like them, I'll probably make more, because honestly, I had a ball with them. I really did. Normally, my sewing is very historical focused. So for myself, I do historic costuming, the occasional modern clothing or home sewing, but mostly historical costuming. And then I do historical clothing for my ball jointed dolls. And then for my business, it's also historical clothing, and for the American Girl dolls, outfits inspired by the book illustrations, so that's dictating the fabric choice. So it's not very often that I get to choose random fun cotton prints. So that was a ball. I am so sorry, I'm so distracted. Woody is really going crazy, and this camera is probably shaking. I think bribing him with treats might have been not the way to go, because now he thinks if he bothers the camera, he gets treats. So I'm really sorry about this. Okay. Well, the next thing I have on my random chatter list is I wanted to do some shoutouts actually. So I love when people do shoutouts because it helps me discover floss tubers that I may not. Okay, oh boy, Woody. Okay, I gave Woody a lot of pets and talked to him about not shaking the camera. So hopefully we'll be good now. So on to random chatter topic number 2, which is shoutouts. So many of you do shoutouts, and I find them so helpful because I find floss tubers that I might not have stumbled onto, and then I really enjoy watching their videos. But what's inspired me to do them today is that someone gave me a shout out, and that's so cool. So I wanted to return the favor. So my first shout out goes to the 20-minute stitcher. She very kindly watched my videos and then said such nice things about them and told people about me, and I was so touched. And I went ahead and started watching her videos and really enjoyed them. She's fun to watch. Her work is really nice. She's got a bunch of projects going that are really great right now and is about to start another that I'm particularly excited about called Quaker Halloween, I believe it is. And she was showing that pattern and the fabric for it. And honestly, I don't normally envision myself as stitching something that's like sort of seasonal decor or holiday themed decor, because I tend to not spend a lot of time decorating my house for holidays. I just have so many things I want to do with my time. Like, I'm always making things. I've got my business. I also love programming. That's kind of what I went to school for and my other passion. So I'm always working on programming projects or taking online classes about that. And I really, really love watching Korean drama. So there's like a lot of calls on my time. So decorating the house for holidays tends to kind of fall far on the list. But this pattern might be the one that sucks me in. And if it does, the 20-minute stitcher should get commission for my purchases, because I would not have otherwise found this pattern or bought it. And that's why Floss Tube is so great, isn't it? Because we see all these people that are doing different things than us and they get us inspired. So the 20-minute stitcher has me inspired to possibly jump into holiday themed stitches. And yes, I know I am doing a holiday themed stitch right now, but recall that that one is a gift. That's not for my own house, so it doesn't count. But this one would be for my own house, and the fabric for it is just so cool. Like, I'm really excited. I can't wait to watch her start working on that. So I will definitely be watching more of her channel and recommend you check her out as well. And the link will be below, as it is for everything that I talk about. And my second shout out is somewhat related, because apparently she's also going to be stitching Quaker Halloween, although I didn't know that because I'm behind in my floss tubes right now. But anyhow, the museum stitcher. And I stumbled onto her because we both started our floss tube channels at around the same time. And when I was starting, I had actually done a YouTube search for Floss Tube episode 1 and narrowed it down to within the past week or 2 weeks. I can't remember the filter I put on, because I was thinking it would be fun to find other people that were starting at the same time as me. And she had just started, and so hers popped up. And she's very likable. She's got a lot of projects on the go, and she's got cute cats. And we have a lot in common. Like, we both love Outlander. And she works in the museum world, and my last job was actually also in the museum world. I was costume technician for Plymouth Plantation, or Plymouth Patuxent Museum, as I think it's now called, which is a little local living history museum here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is just a ways down the road. So yeah, we had a bunch of things in common, and I really enjoyed her videos. So I'm sure most people, I think, have found her by now, but if you haven't, check her out because she's great. And then the third shout out I'll do is Stitching in the Land of Good Enough. And this one I stumbled onto just looking for other floss tubes to watch, and I really liked her work, and she's really funny and fun to watch. And I was kind of going along watching them, and then she mentioned having her store, and I realized that her store is actually the closest needlework shop to me, which is so cool. And it's the one that I mentioned in my last episode that I tried to go to, but it happened to be closed. So I am absolutely 100% for sure going to make another trip there, because now I have 2 reasons to go. 1, local needlework shop, why not? And 2, owned by someone whose floss tubes that I love to watch. So if you haven't checked her out, check her out too. And those are my shout outs for now. And then the only other thing, oh, I remember the other random chatter I wanted to address. Someone asked me why I named my channel Historically Dressed, and I thought that was a really good question because it has nothing to do with cross stitching, so it is a little weird. But the reason is, back when I first started doing anything online, I was mostly focused on my primary hobby of making historical costume and accessories, and at that time it was for me, not for the dolls. And I still do make historical costume for me, it's just that the dolls are the business, so that's what I do most of the time because most of my time is spent doing the business. But anyhow, back it was like the late 90s, I set up a website to kind of document my costume journeys, and it was the username that I used on everything. It was all Historically Dressed. And when I started my business, I kept the name because I was already known by that. I used to go to costume conventions and people would be like, "Hi, Historically Dressed," not even knowing my real name. So it just made sense to keep it when I started the business. And then I started the YouTube channel, like, why break with routine, right? And I didn't even know Floss Tube existed yet, so I just kept the name. And now I make these floss tubes and the name doesn't seem to make sense. But this brings me to my last topic, which is kind of what I want to do with the off weeks. At the start I was telling you that I'm pretty certain I'm going to be doing every other week floss tubes now. But I was kind of thinking that on the in-between weeks, I might put up videos about just random other crafty fun adventures I'm going on. Because as I was saying, I still do the historic costume and maybe people would be interested in seeing that. Like right now I'm working on a set of 19th century underpinnings and I have a couple other side projects going on that could be fun to share in case people are interested. And then of course I have all the doll stuff, and I had posted a video like a long time ago with some of the doll stuff when I was first starting the business, but of course I have a bunch more now, and so it might be fun to kind of do little updates of what I'm getting up to with those, both for the business, but I do it for my own collection of dolls as well. And I also have, I filmed a really long time ago, I got 2 new ball jointed dolls and I had filmed box openings and realized I never uploaded them, so I'll probably put those up. But I'll clearly label everything. It will say like Floss Tube episode whatever, or it won't say Floss Tube at all, so if you only want the Floss Tube, it'll be really easy to ignore everything else. So yeah, I think I'll do that. And also there are a couple of tutorials that I think I'll put up. One of them, a bunch of people have expressed more interest in the dollhouse carpets, and a few people asked specifically about the edging that I was talking about, so I'm definitely doing that. That is on my list. When I go to finish the Cook Chambers unfinished project that I've shown you in the past, I'm gonna go ahead and film it and make it a tutorial too. So that. And then several of you expressed interest in seeing my dollhouse, so I think I'll do a little video tour of the dollhouse at some point. So I have a bunch of random ideas, and I hope people don't mind if I put random stuff on the off weeks, but I just thought it would be fun. And doing the Floss Tube every week I think would be really boring for you because, like I was saying, I have so many calls on my time, and I do try to do the stitching every day and I do a ton of it on the weekend, but I think 1 week is not enough time for me to have something interesting enough for you to spend your valuable time looking at. So every other week on that, who knows what, if anything, in between. And that's it. So that's all I had for you today. I'm sorry for cat interruptions and also for traffic noise. I realized when editing episode 4, I had headphones in when I was editing, and I realized I could hear the traffic, so I'm really sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. We could have had a smaller house on a quiet street, but we both have hobbies that take up space, and we both are history nerds, so like the big beautiful 1920s home got us, even though it's on the busy street, so what can I do? So anyhow, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back in 2 weeks with some updates, maybe a finish, because I'm really pushing hard on that Demons one that's a gift and definitely starts. So stay tuned and happy stitching to you all. I look forward to seeing all your floss tubes and replying to your comments. And thank you so much for all your comments. I really appreciate them so much. I so enjoy connecting with the community. That's one of the biggest reasons I started doing this, was just wanting to connect with other stitchers. So it's so great. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye.